Hi, I'm Cari. I'm Repairs AmeriCorps.
Hi, I'm Faren. I'm also Repairs AmeriCorps.
Today we're going to be walking you through some common power tools that you'll see on site, whether you're volunteering with repairs or new construction.
Safety is the most important thing whenever you're using any tool, so whether it's a hammer or a saw, you should always be thinking of safety first. So the next tool that we'll be going over is the circular saw. And the circular saw is probably the most powerful tool that we're going over today, so we'll go over a little bit more of the safety for it than we have previously. These are a very common tool that we use a lot on our build sites, so it's something that you'll probably use if you come out and volunteer with us. So the most common function that you would use these for is to make a straight cut. If you're trying to make some sort of a curve cut, then you don't want to use a circular saw because the blade doesn't have flexibility, so it would just bind up and you won't be able to make the cut. So you definitely only want to use this for straight cuts. You can get all different kinds of blades for the circular saw, and you can use them to cut through all different kinds of material. The most common would definitely just be wood, which is what this one can be used for. Yeah, so because it's so powerful, there are a lot of safety features on it. So this is a battery powered one, and this one has a safety. So if you just pull the trigger without touching the safety, then it's not going to work. You have to push this down first, and then the blade will start like that. Other safety features are it has this guard here, so you want to leave that in place. You don't want to be moving this around, but when it cuts through the wood, this will be pushed back to allow it to cut through the wood, but that's just there to protect and to keep you from cutting yourself. But yeah, when you're using it, you just want to keep one hand here and one hand here, so your hands are really far away from the blade. So now I'll go through a quick demonstration on how to actually use the circular saw. So for the purpose of this demonstration, I'll just be cutting off the edge of this wood here. So the first thing that you want to do when you're using the circular saw is you want to make sure that the depth of the blade is set to the correct depth. So when you do that, you want to make sure that the blade is far down enough that it will cut all the way through the bottom of the wood. So here you can see that it is set to a good depth, but I'll just show you quickly how to change it in case it wasn't. So to set the depth of the circular saw, you take this little toggle thing here, you flip it up to loosen it, and then you can slide this up or down and set it to the depth that you want, and then to tighten it back up, you push this back down here, and then you can tug this to make sure that it's stable, and then it's ready to go. So now we'll go through the whole process of how to make a cut like this. The first thing that you want to do is, if you were making a cut for a construction site, you'd want to make sure that you're measuring to the distance that you want, and then taking a square, drawing your line, and making sure that everything's exact how you want to cut it. And I'll do that quickly here. It's kind of hard because of the setup, but I'll draw a line for myself there. And then when you're ready to cut, you want to make sure that what you're cutting is very stable. So I have assistants here to make sure that it is stable when I cut it. When you're ready to make the cut, you can, looking at the circular saw, there's a little notch here that tells you where the blade will cut, so you want to line that up. So the edge of the notch right here is where the blade will cut, so you want to set that on the line. And then you can also double check just by pushing the circular saw all the way forward, and you can see that the blade will hit the line right where you want it to. And yeah, you always want to make sure you're wearing your glasses when you're using the circular saw. The other thing, you want to make sure that this part is flat when you're using it. You don't want it to be at a tilt or anything like that, because then obviously the blade is going to be going in at weird angles. So you want to make sure it's flat. And you also want to make sure that when you start the circular saw, that you're starting it away from the wood, and then you're only bringing it into the wood once it's already running. So I'm all ready to go. I'll put my top hand here, my hand here. You have to remember to push down the safety, but you can let go once it's running. And then you're good to go. So yes. So final tips for cutting with the circular saw. You want to make sure that when you're cutting, you cut all the way through the wood. And if you do have to stop for any reason, you want to make sure that the blade comes to a stop before you pull it out. And you definitely want to make sure that it comes to a full stop before you set it down, so that way you're not damaging whatever you're putting it on, or so it doesn't jerk away in any direction. And another thing, when you're using the circular saw, it should always feel smooth and it should feel like it's kind of gliding through the wood. So if it doesn't feel like that and it feels rough at all, then you should take a break and figure out what's happening. So don't force it ever. Thanks so much for watching, and we hope that you bring some of what you learned out to our volunteer sites.
And thank you for constantly supporting Habitat Seattle King County, and we're excited to see you out on site.